a quiet neighborhood in Baton Rouge. Broad daylight. A crime so disturbing that it has shaken an entire community. Police say a 22-year-old man has been arrested after a brutal attack on a 94-year-old woman, one of the most vulnerable members of society. In today's archives, we're going to break down what investigators say happened, how the suspect was identified so quickly, and why cases like this raise serious questions about community safety and the justice system. But before we begin, it's important to say this. The purpose of the STJ Archives is not to sensationalize tragedy or exploit pain. Some of these cases we discuss involve serious allegations and vulnerable victims. We examine these stories carefully to understand what happened, to raise awareness, and to remind ourselves why accountability and protection for the vulnerable matter. Now let's get into it. According to Baton Rouge police, the attack happened Thursday in broad daylight. Investigators say a 94-year-old woman was assaulted near East Black Oak Drive, close to the Park Forest and Sherwood Forest neighborhoods. The victim was known by neighbors as someone who regularly spent time outside tending to her yard. People in the area described her as a sweet and familiar presence on the street. But on that day, something unthinkable happened. Police say the elderly woman was attacked and sexually assaulted. The seriousness of this crime immediately triggered an intense investigation. For law enforcement, protecting vulnerable citizens, especially elderly individuals, is one of the highest priorities. And in this case, investigators moved quickly. On Friday morning, Baton Rouge police released photos of a suspect through Crime Stoppers. Within minutes, community responded. Tips began coming in from members of the public who recognized the man in the photos. According to the police chief, T.J. Morris, the information provided by the public allowed detectives to act immediately. Officers located the suspect in the same general area and made an arrest shortly afterward. The man taken into custody was identified as 22-year-old Jeremiah Taylor. Police say that the evidence gathered in the case is overwhelming. Taylor was booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Jail and is currently being held without bond. News of the attack quickly spread throughout the neighborhood. Residents who knew the victim expressed shock and anger. One neighbor described the incident as heartbreaking, saying the elderly woman had always been a kind presence in the area. Another neighbor said something like this simply should never happen in a community where people try to look out for each other. When crimes involve elderly victims, the emotional impact can be especially strong. These individuals have spent their lives building communities, raising families, and contributing to society. To see someone take advantage of that vulnerability and take away an elderly woman's vulnerability, it is deeply disturbing for so many people, including me, STJ Squad. Baton Rouge Police Chief T.J. Morris did not hold back when speaking about the case. He described the crime as horrendous and unacceptable. According to Morris, crimes against elderly victims strike at the heart of community and of the community safety. He emphasized that people who target vulnerable individuals must be held accountable. Law enforcement officers deal with many difficult cases, but incidents involving elderly victims often carry a particularly heavy emotional weight. During the investigation, another troubling detail came to light. Reports indicate that the suspect had previous arrests within the past 2 years. Those arrests reportedly involving allegations of rape, burglary, and unauthorized entry. One previous case was dismissed earlier this year. According to District Attorney Hillier Moore, prosecutors had attempted to proceed with that earlier case. However, they were unable to locate the victim at the time, making it impossible to move forward with the trial. Without the victim's testimony, the prosecution could not continue. Because of that, the charges were dismissed in a way that still allowed the state to reopen the case later if new evidence or testimony became available. Now, following the most recent allegations, prosecutors say they intend to present evidence to a grand jury. The district attorney has stated that both the recent allegation and the previous case may be pursued moving forward. Let's just be honest, STJ Squad. Stories like this are extremely difficult to hear, but they also highlight important issues that communities must confront. First, protecting elderly citizens must remain a priority. Second, community awareness can make a major difference. In this case, tips from the public play a critical role in identifying and locating the suspect. Without that quick response, the investigation might have been held up or taken even longer, just like his previous cases. This shows that when communities stay alert and engaged, they can help law enforcement act faster. Another important conversation involves how the justice system handles repeat offenders. Police leadership acknowledged frustration about previous cases involving the suspect. Situations like this often raise questions about how cases are prosecuted, why charges may be dismissed, and how legal procedures affect the outcome of investigations. These are complicated issues involving evidence, witness availability, and legal standards that might be met in court. But the legal goal remains the same. I'm saying justice for victims, accountability for those responsible, and providing comfort through this difficult process. This was a win situation because people in the community paid attention and spoke up. Although the larger issue remains, how do we create communities where the elderly feel safe? How do we ensure accountability when violent crimes occur? And how do we support victims who endure unimaginable trauma? These are questions every community must face because protecting the vulnerable is not just the responsibility of law enforcement, it is the responsibility of society as a whole. If you like deep conversations like this, then grab the Spilling the Juice book series at spillingthejuice.com. Now available on all major book platforms. STJ Archives, signing off.